Hello guys and gals, and welcome. So today I wanted to go over another build that I had created with my Barbarian, and that is kind of an odd one. So normally, I don't know if you guys have seen my other build video for the Barbarian, but it's a Frenzy Barbarian. Well, the Frenzy Barbarian is not what this is. However, it's still a basic Barbarian. I had an idea a while back. This was like back in Season 1 or Season 0. I can't remember. And it had to do with the skill Flay. And I spent a lot of time thinking about bleed abilities, rend, Flay, all sorts of things. And one of the things that I noticed about Flay was that Flay had the ability to stack almost infinitely with itself. And what do I mean by this? Well, it can basically continually stack bleed damage, unlike some of the other abilities. So some abilities in the game, once you apply a bleed effect, the bleed effect is just there. And if you apply another bleed effect, it doesn't stack, it just simply refreshes the duration. Flay, however, unlike the other abilities, stacks almost infinitely, which is kind of crazy. And I thought maybe it would be fun to build a character around this idea of essentially stacking infinite Flay damage, to see how high I could stack the bleeds. And for one of the reasons I built this was I have a grandfather. Now, I know, putting a grandfather in the build, it's kind of cheating, right? But the whole entire thing is that Gushing Wounds, which is the key passive for the bleed effects, gives you a pretty massive bonus if you have critical strike. So when causing an enemy to bleed, you have a chance equal to your critical strike chance to increase the bleed by 115% times of your critical strike damage bonus. Which to me was pretty interesting in terms of the grandfather, because the grandfather allows me to multiply the Gushing Wounds effect pretty drastically. And I set up an entire character around this. And to give you an idea of how the character works before we get into the gear, let's just go ahead and beat up this training dummy real quick. So let's go to an elite training dummy, and you know what, let's also do multiple training dummies. And I'm going to show you really quickly how crazy the bleeds can get on this character. So first off, all you really do is you just stack Flay. So you just attack as much as you possibly can with Flay, stacking Flay as many possible times as you can. From this point, you're going to utilize, obviously, things like your berserking and whatnot. And for some reason, I have the wrong skill on my bar. Shouldn't have leap. I'm pretty sure I fixed that in the build guide, though, so don't worry about it. Boop. There we go. Alright, so you start stacking your Flay, and you're going to stack Flay as much as you possibly can. Well, you notice that the bleed ticks are already going up to 400,000, and I haven't really activated any of my special ability. 650,000, 680,000, and so forth and so on. And it just gets kind of ridiculous, more and more ridiculous from here. 750,000 bleed ticks is just me spamming Flay. Now I add in things like my Berserk, start using Fury, stack on some of that, use a little bit of my Rupture ability so that I can stack some more attack speed, and start hitting even higher. And basically what you'll notice is my bleed ticks are going literally like through the moon. I'm already at 2.5 million, 2.7 million, and so forth and so on. And of course I can Rupture to take those bleeds off and deal instantaneous damage, which is basically what I'm using Rupture for at this point, is the instantaneous damage of the bleed ticks. And I can get up to, so far I've seen about 3.4 million bleed ticks, which is pretty crazy. The damage output of this guy is pretty nuts. Let's go over his equipment real quick, and we'll talk about how this character works. So first off, Tusk Helm of Jords the Mighty is pretty much best in slot for this character. There's pretty much nothing better. I have a Harlequin Crest Shaco, and I still prefer Tusk Helm of Jords the Mighty for its damage output. However, if you would just like something that's more tanky, obviously Harlequin Crest has 20% damage reduction, which is definitely nice. But Tusk Helm is still the better in the DPS output. I also have the Steadfast Berserker's Mail. This is the lucky hit, has a 35% chance to gain a 2068 Fortify. It's very easy to build Fortify when you are using this. It does not take very long before you are at full Fortify when you are attacking ridiculously fast like this. It's not really that hard when it comes down to it. The lucky hit abilities go off pretty quickly, and before you know it, in combination with some other effects, you're sitting on maximum fortify, and it stays at maximum pretty much all the time as long as you're attacking, because you'll gain 2,000 some odd fortify just for attacking really, really fast. And I have some other ways to generate fortify too, but this is a pretty good one. I'm also utilizing the exploiters, but I do swap back and forth here. I believe in the build guide, I was using exploiters because of the of PvP, but I am using the Wanton Rupture aspect, which allows it to not remove the bleed from the enemy, which is absolutely amazing. Because it allows that 2.5 million or 3.5 million bleed that I'm ticking not to get removed, and it still does the damage anyway, which is absolutely amazing. I'm also using Tobults. Tobults is definitely by far the better in terms of damage output, but if you are having trouble with tankability, you could also potentially utilize some very nice, well-rolled, like, I think I got like a 4, yeah, like 23% armor, 7.7% damage reduction, 11% damage from close, 13% damage reduction while fortified, and so forth and so on. A nice pair of quad defense pants could definitely come in handy. On top of this, I'm also utilizing the direct damage, the aspect of anemia. Direct damage against bleeding enemies has up to a 30% chance to stun them for 2 seconds. And the reason why I'm using this is because I'm utilizing the Skullbreaker's Chain, which is stunning bleeding enemies, deals 60% of their total bleeding damage amount to them as physical damage. Which means that 3.5 million bleed that I have ticking hits them and for 60% of that, and we'll just simply, as soon as they're stunned, we'll dish out 60% of 3.5 million to them as a physical hit, which is pretty impressive. I'm also using Edge Masters on my two-handed mace, which is very important for this build because I am constantly at full resource, so I get a 40% times damage bonus. I'm also using Ramaladi's Magnum Opus, and Flay is being used in the two-handed, or the dual-wield configuration, so that I'm getting the multiplier from Ramaladi's as well through the Flay ability. I'm also using the Rapid aspect to increase my basic skill attack speed, and the Grandfather to increase my critical strike by a massive 100% times. For my skill tree, let's go ahead and pull up my skill tree real quick. I am maxing out Flay, of course, because Flay is my main ability. I'm also using Enhanced Flay, and this is where things differ. Whether you want survivability, you can use Combat Flay, or whether you want damage output, you can use Battle Flay. And this is something you can swap back and forth on. So if it's damage output that you need, then Battle Flay. If it's survivability, then Combat Flay. We don't put anything in the core tree, nothing at all. We grab 1 point Rally Cry, 1 point Enhanced Rally Cry, and 1 point Strategic Rally Cry for the additional Fortify. And we also are grabbing 3 in Martial Vigor and 3 in Imposing Presence. 1 in Kick, 1 in Enhanced Kick for the vulnerability, and of course also the Power Kick. Now the reason why we grab this is to spend Essence. We want some way to spend Essence, and the reason why we want some way to spend Essence is because we are utilizing the Supreme Wrath of the Berserker, which gives us a nice 100% times multiplier for spending Essence. So for every 50 Fury that we spend, we get a 25% times bonus, up to 100% times, and that is a very, very nice bonus because we can get that instantaneously by using Berserk and then immediately kicking, which spends our entire Essence pool, which is currently, or Fury pool, which is currently 240, which means we fulfill the entire requirement and we gain the 100% times bonus when we kick, which is the reason why we're using kick at all. We also have Warcry, and we're using the maximum life as well as the berserking. It's really just so we have some extra damage and whatnot, as well as the berserking effect. Also, we are utilizing the Battle Fervor, which gives us the 3 seconds of berserking whenever we use a brawling skill. So we're getting berserking when we use kick, and we're getting berserking when we use Warcry, both of them. We are putting 3 points of Booming Voice to increase the shout duration, and we are also using Guttering Yell. Now, the reason why we're using the shout duration is so that we have longer Unstoppable while Rally Cry is up, because while we are Unstoppable, we are getting the very nice bonus from Tobults, which makes the 34% times multiplier whenever we are Unstoppable, which is very, very helpful. We are using 1 point in Aggressive Resistance, 1 point in Prolific Fury, and 3 points in Battle Fervor. 3 points in Pit Fighter for the close damage, and we're also using 3 points in No Mercy for the critical strike as well. You could potentially pull this one out and put this somewhere else if you want to. It's not really 100% necessary. Now, we are putting 1 point in Rupture. We don't really put any more than that because we don't want to spam it. We are grabbing the Warrior's Rupture, which gives us the 40% increased attack speed for 5 seconds. This is so we can obviously spool up quicker. Helps out a ton. 1 in Hamstring and 3 in Cut to the Bone. Preferably, you want an amulet that has 3 to Cut to the Bone on it. That's your what you're looking for. I actually don't have that right now. You want Thick Skin and then 3 points in Counteroffensive, which is the bonus multiplier to increase damage when you have at least 50% of your maximum life as Fortify, which, as I showed you earlier, we pretty much always have Fortify. You could also potentially take these 3 points out here, for instance, if you want to be tankier, and put them here, which is a decent little place to put it. I'm not entirely sure the No Mercy one is really worth it, so it really is up to you. 3 points in Duelist, which is attack speed is increased by 9% while using one-handed weapons. We're going to put 3 points in Tempered Fury because the more Fury that we have, the more damage we deal. And we also want to put Wrath of the Berserker, Prime Wrath of the Berserker, and Supreme Wrath of the Berserker. Now, here's an interesting contradiction on this. If you're not using to bolts, then you don't actually need Supreme Wrath of the Berserker because this is only for somebody who's spending resource, or rather... sorry, not to bolts. If you're not using kick. So if you don't use kick in the build, if you don't have a way to spend resource, if you've decided that you don't want to have a resource spender at all, then you don't want Supreme Wrath of the Berserker because it's only for a character who's going to spend a resource. So if you don't spend resource, don't grab this ability. You may still want to grab this one just simply because of the movement speed. But you could also sacrifice this one as well and just simply go with 1 point in Wrath of Berserker with no passives. And for your key passive, we're using Gushing Wounds because, of course, it's giving us the massive amount of critical strike damage bonus, the overpowering bleed effects, and whatnot, which is pretty nice. For our technique slot, we are utilizing the two-handed sword for more bleeding damage. We want as much bleeding damage as we can possibly get. And for our vampiric powers, we have Flowing Veins, which gives us the damage over time bonus. We have Moonrise, which gives us the basic skill multiplier, which is very important to this build, as well as the attack speed. Ravenous also gives us more attack speed, and then we get the Hectic Power, which allows us to reset our abilities really quickly, and then Undying, which helps us heal. As for our Paragon board, let's take a look at the Paragon board real quick. So the Paragon board is... Hemorrhage, which is going to give us a pretty nice bonus. Obviously, we want to stack vulnerable damage because that gives us a multiplier for every point of vulnerable damage additive that we get. We get a nice little multiplier from that. I am utilizing the Ire on here, which is the while berserking, you take 10% reduced damage from elites, as well as the Undaunted, which is 10% damage reduction with the more fortify you have. And this board is for the Blood Rage, which is killing a bleeding enemy has a 10% chance to grant berserking for 5 seconds, and your damage is increased by 25 times of your damage while berserking bonus. So we have two multipliers here. We've got the multiplier from Hemorrhage, and we have the multiplier from the Blood Rage node. We're also utilizing the Warbringer board, but we're not putting a point into Warbringer because we really don't spend enough essence to take advantage of it. But we are grabbing all of the nodes that give maximum fury. This is very important for the build. You need all of the nodes that give maximum fury because every point of maximum fury is more damage. We're also using the Exploit glyph over here, the Ambidextrous glyph on this side, and the Decimator legendary node. This is the one that gives you... increased damage for making an enemy vulnerable, and then also overpowering a vulnerable enemy grants an additional 10 times bonus for 5 seconds. There's a whole overpowering thing when it comes to the bleeds that basically allows you to get a huge bleed of 20,000, 22 bleeding damage over 5 seconds that explodes out whenever you overpower a monster. And it's actually pretty powerful, so I figured why not go into the board that gives us additional damage when we overpower. Why not? And then on top of that, I also ran over here into this board and grabbed the Bone Breaker, which gives us the every 12 seconds your next skill is guaranteed to overpower. So every 12 seconds, we will get at least one free bleed effect. Now, this character actually plays really well. I have a lot of fun with him. What do we got in here? Anything super good? Armor. Backstabbers. Man, I got some fun ones in here, don't I? A shadow. The shadow knows. Let's try this one. I might go make a fool out of myself, but since we're doing a tier 100, let's swap to a more defensive stance. And let's see how well we can actually go have some fun here. I always like to do a little bit of a practical exam so you guys can at least see how the character rolls. And obviously, you never have to take my characters exactly as they're developed. You can change them around and play with them as you want. My hope is that I can inspire some ideas in you guys, and you guys can figure it out on your own. I think for a tier 100, I should probably swap in the tankier Doojank, though. Let's go ahead and start out with, oh god. What if I didn't? What if I didn't? So much poison!
Why is there so much poison?
That's one thing I can never get used to in these freaking dungeons, is all the ridiculous amounts of poison. So much poison. Stop being rude to me. Ooh, there were some nice explosions. That was my overpower bleed. Cancel out this poison real quick. Get a little bit of this. Get a little bit of this. Ooh, I love them explosions. Those things are so beautiful. This is where I would really swap in my my Shaco for the extra damage reduction. A nice pair of quad damage reduction pants goes a long way here too. I actually have a pair that's not set up for this character. Hold on. This pair right here. It doesn't actually have an aspect on it, which is actually useful to this character, but they are really nicely rolled quad damage reduction pants. And they go a long way in making the character a little bit tanky for this higher tier content. And a lot of the times when you're doing higher tier content like this, you don't necessarily need a large amount of damage output. You really just need to survive, which is often more important than the latter. Swing, 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 swing. God, this poison is nasty. Why is the poison so nasty? Save me, Jesus. I'm so glad the Undying power exists, though. Especially with builds like this that swing so fast. So you can literally just sit there, hold down the shift key, and just swing your swords and dish out lots of damage. Only problem is with builds like this, if you stop swinging for whatever reason, it can be really nasty. Now this build would really do well with a specific super unique that I don't have, called the Melted Heart of Seleg. The Melted Heart of Seleg, it gives a huge amount of resource, but one of the things it also does is it basically makes it so that it burns your energy before it burns your actual HP. And as you can see, I really don't have an issue with energy, as I can generate nearly infinite amounts. So having it so that it pulls from my energy instead of from my HP would make the character basically invincible. for the most part. And that's one of the really cool things about this, is that if I could get my hands on a Melted Heart of Selek, this build would literally just become immortal. And I know for a fact that it would, because I can generate infinite amount of fury. I'm messing up the terms on all the different characters. And I love the Gushing Wound explosion. Whenever the Gushing Wound explosion happens, it's so freaking glorious. Yeah, that's one. Ow! Why you guys gotta be so mean? So much poison, I don't like it. Ah, God, save me. Save me from the poison. Save me, baby Jesus. I love that freaking explosion. That is such a nice little explosion. As you can see, the Gushing Wounds does its work and keeps the damage output not just single target, which you would think it would be just single target. It does a really nice AoE damage poison as well, which is very, very nice. Now, here's a nice little monster for me to test my damage output on. Come here, buddy. Ching, 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 ching. 4 spitums. Oh.
I need more time.
Slay all enemies. That was a nice Gushing Wounds explosion on the little baby spiders. Poor little baby spiders.
I need time to do that.
Ah, lordy. I just want to live. No, come back here. You the one that started this. And now you little baby spiders coming out. What the hell? That's not a baby. And die. Let's go try. Oh, that thing. Oh, I hate the snakes. They can go suck it. I saw that stunning eyeball. Man, that thing was fast. One of the main issues with these builds that revolve around attack speed, they revolve around swinging your weapons as fast as possible, getting your damage reduction from swinging your weapons, healing yourself from swinging your weapons. One of the things that I've noticed about these builds is that if the enemy can stop you, well, you're not getting your damage reduction anymore, and you're not healing anymore, and you're not hitting anything anymore. And what it basically comes down to is that you're weak to hold spells. This is a D&D game. So if this is a D&D game and they had hold spells in the game, you are weak to hold spells. If they can stop you for whatever reason, if they can slow you down, if they can keep you from swinging your weapon, you're dead. And a lot of the builds that revolve around attacking as fast as humanly possible are like this. They build up lots of damage reduction. They build up lots of ways to make themselves tanky. And in general, unfortunately, when they stop attacking, well, they're dead. Because all of it goes away. Their damage reduction goes away. Their healing goes away. Their, you know, their ability to survive is tied so tightly with being able to swing their weapons that as soon as they can no longer swing their weapons, things just go very, very poorly, very, very fast. And in this case, with the stupid little eyeballs that constantly stun you, all it takes is one mistake, and you are no longer being able to move, and you're dying really quickly. Man, I am so tired of being poisoned in this dungeon. I really, you know, there's snakes everywhere, and I get it. You know, snakes have poison. You know, whatever. I mean, I don't have to like it. I'm so glad, though, that the dying thing works, because you can't just kind of go here. You can just take a step back, and take a step back, and get murdered by the guy as he comes to kill you in your sleep.
I need more time.
This is what I get for trying to show off. You know, when I originally was going to make these build videos, I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut out all the deaths, and I'm not going to show anybody any of the errors. But I'm like, you know what? If people really want to see how the builds roll, they got to see the deaths, too. They got to see how the build actually works. You know, like the whole thing, not just that one dungeon that was absolutely amazing, and you just kind of waltzed right through it. I like to show people the whole Monty, everything. The good and the bad of the build. Oh, Lord, stop trying to stun me. I don't like it. I'm going to kill your World of Eyes, and you're going to die. There you go. Ow, 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 ow. Why are you so rude? Ow, 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 ow. Ow, ow, ow. You know, it's funny, on a lot of my characters, I will actually come across these rooms where they have all these monsters, like, in these big giant areas, and they tie you in there so you can't leave. And more often than not, all of my characters have trouble in those rooms. Specifically those rooms where they tie your hands and they're like, you're stuck in here, fight everything and die. Who the hell is that? Maugray Doomtrap. What's up, Maugray? Give my chest. I don't even care about none of the loot. I just want my chest. I got one more Ward of Eyes to destroy. I already destroyed that one down there. I don't even gotta do anything. Like, whatever. Oh my god. With the googly eyes. Stab it with the googly eyes. Oh, I didn't see the other guy over here. I was wondering why they weren't dying.
I need time to do that.
Potion. I need my precious potions. God, so mean. Every time I run away, I always end up dying. Because again, you know, when I stop attacking, that means death. What's up, Shocking Nagiri Siam? All in all, I do think my Frenzy Barbarian was tankier. It's interesting that they're both basic builds, right? The Frenzy Barbarian is a basic build, and this character is a basic build also. And I think that the Frenzy build was tankier. Although I do think that this build does more damage. I don't really know how to put it exactly. Like, this character has this interesting thing going on where they can just stack bleeds infinitely. And the bleeds dish out massive amounts of damage. The overpower gushing thing is also pretty darn cool as well. Where's the next Ward of Eyes? Well, there it is. Why are they so rude? Oh, that thing corrected at the end. What was that? Self-correcting doojank? Suck it! I knew I was gonna die. I still get you anyway. Honk! Dang, where the hell did it put me? The ham biscuit?
I need time.
Y'all ever notice this? It loves to throw you just like anywhere in the dungeon. Half the time it doesn't even, there's no like rhyme or reason to it. It'll just like drop you at that entrance. I thought that there was supposed to be like checkpoints where it actually drops you where you're supposed to go, but most of the time, no. It just be dropping you in random spots.
I need time to do that.
What do I need? Trying to cap out iron. Alright, guys and gals. That's pretty much it for this character. It's definitely a fun one. Adding in more survivability would certainly help with like the tier 100s and stuff, but you know what? Honestly, I have fun with him the way he is. I usually put the Tusk Helm on when I'm doing like more easy content, and I usually put the Harlequin Crest on when I'm doing the more difficult content for the 20% damage reduction. I didn't put the Harlequin Crest on this time because I wanted you guys to see it without the Harlequin Crest, but it definitely helps to have the additional damage reduction for tougher content. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're just talking about crazy basic Flay Barbarians. And as always, keep watching.